My father was the Minister of Education in Nigeria, so I was always surrounded by books and I was always very studious. I love and respect professors, and I always wanted to be in the sciences, so I ended up having a bachelor's degree in biology, a master's degree in environmental science, and a PhD in urban and regional science. And so when I did my postdoctoral work at University of California, Davis, I was always interested in writing and sharing my ideas with students, and so it was just natural to go into the teaching profession. I love it. I love to do research, I love to write, and I love to share my ideas not only with my colleagues, but most especially with my students. I came to Clarion in an administrative position as the academic vice president, and that's how I came here. That was about 8 years ago. After 3 years, I returned to faculty here because I was already a tenured full professor at another institution in North Carolina, Fayetteville State University. I was the dean there and a full professor. So I came here as not only the provost and academic vice president, but also a tenured professor. I was born and raised in Nigeria on the west coast of Africa, and my father was Nigerian, and he always wore hats all his life. So I grew up in a society where hats are very important, and half of Nigeria are Muslims. And so I was always surrounded by people who wore hats. And so it kind of was a cultural thing for me. So that's what sparked my interest. I actually began to wear hats when I was in college in Rome, in Italy. And so I continued here when I arrived in the United States. My favorite hat is the hat of my coronation because it's very special, and I wear it only once a year when I travel in the summer to Nigeria. And I get to be present during several ceremonies, and because I wear it occasionally during the ceremony, that's why it's very special. About 8 years ago, I was invited by the chiefs in southeastern Nigeria, a town called Ikot-Ekpene in Akwa Ibom State. They invited me to come and be interviewed for a possible position as the 11th chief of the town. So I went there, and the interview went on for about 2 days. And at the end of the interview, I was told that I was qualified to become the 11th chief in the town. The title of the chief is a chief of wisdom. In the Anang language, is actually pronounced Obang Ifiok I. So I was the first chief of wisdom in the town of Ikot-Ekpene in Akwa Ibom State of Nigeria. About 5 years ago, I realized there's a chapter in the textbook that we use for the cultural geography. I thought about the importance of the collection of artwork, the pieces that I've collected all over the world, from China to many other countries of Asia that I've traveled to, and most importantly, countries of Africa, Central Africa, West Africa, and East Africa. And so that fits very well with the study of cultural geography. So they go through understanding the economic situation in Africa, the tourism aspect of Africa, and they get to see pieces of artwork they would never see, not even in the biggest museum in Africa. I have traveled to Taiwan, I have traveled to South Korea, I've traveled to Japan, and I've traveled to China 6 times. So I love to interact with people of other cultures, particularly to have an opportunity to wrestle with some of the issues that they wrestle with. When I travel to China, I give lectures at Chinese universities. I have friends who are, scientists in China who I share ideas with, and I've been invited by the Chinese government to travel to places like Yangling to interact with the farmers and how farmers get subsidies to support themselves. So all those things are very important to me. Once you do all those things, you kind of bring them back to the classroom. So what the students get from me is on-the-ground research activities that I really don't think they get from a textbook. It is very, very culturally enlightening because most of our students are from this region here, Western Pennsylvania. And so the exposure to the kinds of things they see in my house, it's new to them. But they get to see things that pertain to other cultures. They get to learn of things that are really, in some ways, very different They get to be immersed in a culture that is quite different. I get to talk about the economy of Africa. I get to talk about the economy of China. I get to talk about the culture. I get to talk about the environmental things that actually development and how Africa struggles with its development and the importance of the developed countries to the development of other countries that are not so, wealthy. And that to me is very important, exposing our students even before they step into other countries or they visit other countries, they get to know much more about other countries. So when they get to travel, they already have an idea of where they are, of what other places are. So to me, it's always very moving. And they talk about it quite extensively because I give them the opportunity to just roam the house and they'll talk about pieces of artwork that they saw and the significance of those art pieces. And I enjoy sharing those ideas, enlighten, make them understand the significance of those art. The favorite piece of artwork you could say is the carvings. Two pieces of artwork. One is in the living room, and then one is in the sitting room that has several carvings that actually depict Africa at its most elegant stage. You get to see how Africans have come up with the art pieces that represent just about all parts of the continent. North Africa, East Africa, West Africa, and South Africa. So that to me is what it's all about. Africa Room is like a room of my meditation. I have this problem of insomnia, so when I wake up 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, I come there to actually meditate and to sit down. It's very tranquil. And whenever I raise my head, I see pieces of artwork that I've even forgotten about. The mask, the drums, and the artwork from all over Africa. They are all over the place. So I get to actually think about the importance of it. And the importance of Africa has been probably one of the most central places in the world. And that is a place of my meditation, and I love to be in it. And I walk students through the room. They actually understand Africa in its totality and its contribution to the world as a whole.